Perfect. We're live. What's going on, Zach? How you been?
Not bad. How about yourself?
Good, man. Is this our second attempt or this is our second podcast we've done together, right? Just the second one. And it's been how long do you think it's been since we did our last episode together? Do you think it's been a couple years, right?
You did one in 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we decided to take all the good things about the old one and make something new. Um, and so what we're going to do is we're going to harness our shared love of strange and interesting movies, maybe even some TV, depending on what our vibe is that week. Um, and we're going to shed some light on some stuff that I maybe wish I'd never seen before. Uh, and we're going to call this Media Oddities, which is exactly what this week is about to be. Um, before we talk about our very first pick of the very first episode of this podcast, um, if you had to guess, how many times have we talked about this movie, whether in social groups or in a podcast? I think we've actually covered it before on a podcast. I don't recall, but
Very
um, how many times do you think we've talked about this? 100, maybe?
easily.
Um,
Trying to think of how it came up the first time that we saw it. I think someone just randomly bought it.
yeah, this is we should just jump right into it because this movie, there's so much we have to talk about. So today we're covering the second movie in a incredibly massive franchise from the Sci-Fi Network. Um, it's the 2007 Canadian uh, made-for-TV horror film Grizzly Rage. This was a video on demand release, like no plans for DVD or anything right out of the gate. And then it did get pressed on DVD, and somebody bought it for probably $5 at Walmart, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was. And it was like, yeah, 15 or 16 years ago. And it had me hooked, dude. I've now seen this movie more than most films in my life.
Never
Um,
this many times, but
do you recall the first time we watched this? Were we all was so at the time that this movie came out and we watched it, Zach and I were in a band together with a couple of other people who also love terrible movies. So I think somebody pulled the trigger on like the $5 bin somewhere, and we popped it in like the little DVD player attached. Actually, we probably put it in an Xbox 360. That's how long ago this was. And we watched 90 minutes of just straight trash. Um, but it spawned pretty much my love for the $5 Walmart bin, I think, because I think I got the rest of the films from the $5 Walmart bin. Um, do you own a physical copy of this movie still, or did you stream it like I had to?
I own the physical copy, but I streamed it to a little better quality.
Yeah. I went to go buy one, just because I figured if we're going to talk about it, I should probably own it again. And it's now more expensive to buy than it was to buy brand new 15 years ago. I think copies were going for like $17, which was a little high for my desired price range.
Don't need that deluxe vinegar syndrome edition on that one.
I think before we talk about Grizzly Rage, I think we have to talk about the series that it's a part of. I've actually pulled it up because there were more movies in this franchise than I recall being. I've only seen about eight of them. if you're not already looking at it, how many films do you think is in the Man-Eater series?
I did look at it before, but is it like 10, 15?
It was 28 films.
Yeah.
Um, the first one, Blood Monkey, which I know that we both have talked about. I think I've seen it. Have you seen Blood Monkey? Do you recall?
I've seen it. When I bought Grizzly Rage, I bought a bunch more. I think it was like when Newberry Comics actually was selling movies still. I just bought a bunch of them.
Yeah. Um, Man, I missed that. I haven't been to a Newbury Comics in a while, but the last couple times I went in, there were no movies anymore, and there were barely any comics.
Yeah.
Um, so the very first Maneater series was Blood Monkey, which was January 2008. But for some reason, that premiered. So actually, it's strange. I'm looking at the list now, but Blood Monkey was the first one, which we might cover that. We might cover the Maneater series as a whole at some point, but that premiered on television January 27th, 2008, but it was released on DVD 4 or 5 months before that. So it was a straight to DVD release. Grizzly Rage, though, they actually aired on television first, and then it got the DVD release a year later. Um, but there are 28 movies in the Maneater series. Um, and the last one, the most recent one was 2015. So it's not like it's been, it's not like they did them all within 6 months. There were just about 10 years worth of movies in this series. Um, if you had to take a stab at it, how many do you think you've seen? Do you know off the top of your head how many have you seen? Or like which ones you have seen, I guess?
I think I've seen like five, I want to say. I know I've seen, look at the list. I've seen Viper.
Yeah.
I think Rise of the Gargoyles. I've seen Malibu Shark Attack. Yeah,
It's interesting that it goes from real creatures to fictional creatures, then back to real creatures, and then fictional again. Uh,
just Curse, it says. The last one.
yeah. Maybe that was it. The final one was it was just the curse of having watched all of the Maneater films. One of them, like so like the first five or six are all real creatures. It's like a gorilla, a grizzly bear, spiders, tiger, but then slime beast comes up. Um, I don't think I've seen that one. It's called Something Beneath. I have no idea what that is. Um, but it's a movie about a slime beast.
That's,
Uh,
that's pretty
and
bad.
it stars Kevin Sorbo, so that says everything you need to know about it. But we can talk about the Manager series. We're actually here to talk about Grizzly Rage, so we should talk about Grizzly Rage first before we do anything else. Because there's so much to talk about within this movie. But we both rated it on Letterboxd recently. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I gave it 1.5 stars. What did you give it?
The same.
What? Yeah, a very, very easy 1.5 star rating. Um, were you tempted to go lower than 1.5 at all? Because I was.
I tempted to go higher just because of like the nostalgia factor, but I couldn't.
I think I think with with the age that I'm at now, where 90 minutes of my life is a lot of time, I think I was more inclined to go low than if you talked to me 10 years ago when we were watching it, and I was like, this movie rules. Um, but 90 minutes is a tough sell when it is truly an anomaly on how bad the acting is, but also how little cohesiveness there is sometimes between the scenes. It's important to note that in Grizzly Rage, the primary driving force in this movie is that this group of friends, they get in a car, they're going to go on a trip, they make a last minute change of plans, they decide instead of going to this place that we always go to, let's go off-roading and go in the middle of nowhere. The movie feels like it's supposed to take place in Canada, or not in Canada, in California, but it is actually in Canada, but it feels like California.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like California. Also, I don't know enough about grizzlies to know where they're supposed to be. I guess they're maybe native to Canada as well. Um, they these friends so rudely, so inconsiderate, hit a bear cub while they're driving, which naturally, as any human being would be inclined to do. You get out, you check on it, but it turns out that the uh, grizzly, it's never, I guess it's never really shown one way or another. It could be a mother, it could be a father bear. I don't know. Again, I'm not a grizzly expert, but let's say the mama bear um, then proceeds to chase these kids through the woods for 90 minutes straight. Um, do you think that's a fair representation of the movie?
Yeah. A lot of filler to go in with that, but
Were you surprised at all how it's interesting that they were able to secure a real bear for this movie. It's important to note that the bear scenes are shot as like a single entity. There are no humans in any of those scenes whatsoever. Um, but
there's
when the bear and the humans are together, it's a fake bear. It's a person in a bear costume, which is so clear. It's clear as day. Um, but do you think that those bear scenes, do you think that was just random B-roll, or do you think they actually brought a bear on set and just let it roam?
I think a lot of it was just random B footage because like the first half it was like the same shot over and over again. But then at towards the end with the Jeep, I think they actually had it there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I don't want to give the entire story away because I think I would hope that people would listen to this and be intrigued enough to want to go track it down. You can stream it on Prime. You can get a copy on it on Amazon. You can get a copy from probably still Walmart.com, honestly. Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I don't think I like this movie anymore. um, do you think that the novelty of watching it now, because it was so nostalgic to go back and revisit it because we have seen it so many times and it's been a part of our friendship for a very long time. Um, was it strange going back and watching it now, knowing that the cast has moved on to like such bigger and better things? Like, there's only like six people in the movie, but one of them happens to be. I had to double check because I've actually never pronounced his name before in real life. I was gonna say Tyler Hoechlin, but it's a soft O hard E. It's Tyler Hoechlin, also known as our current Superman. Not in the James Gunn universe, but in the Superman and Lois universe, our current Superman. Was that was that not so strange to go back and watch him and be like, wow, he's really come a long way.
Like it's night and day difference between his acting skills too.
In the interim, he did the Teen Wolf series as well, which I never watched, but um, I guess I'm not that familiar with him as an actor. I was looking at his IMDb, and it's pretty much like Road to Perdition, Grizzly Rage, Teen Wolf, and then he becomes Superman right after that, and then he rides Superman for a while. Um, did you ever watch Teen Wolf?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I was like, maybe that was the stepping stone between Superman and Grizzly Rage. Um, but yeah, I mean, he is a massive star now, like highest echelon of star right now. I think if you are even remotely plugged into the DC universe or the extended universe, you know who he is. Even people passively watching like the CW shows probably know who he is. Um, and just 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was, actually 17 years ago, not 10 or 12, 17. 17 years ago, he was a uh, Canadian bro dressed like a Chingy video with like the oversized hat, the flip-flops, and he's running for his life from a enraged grizzly bear for, you know, days on end. Um, yeah, it's impressive, you know. I guess it's a testament that anything is possible if you're willing to star in movies like Grizzly Rage, you can become Superman. Um, what do you think? What else do you want to add about Grizzly Rage before we take a maybe a little bit of a left turn? Um, would you? I know we talked about giving it a 1.5. Sometimes I give ratings based on things other than whether I enjoyed them or not, whether they're visually interesting or whether they're unique or whether they're strange enough to warrant a higher rating. But um, would you recommend to the average person to spend the 86 minutes on Grizzly Rage?
Probably not. Not not anymore. Uh,
We're gonna put a little graphic, maybe on the next episode, but there should be a graphic of like a thumbs up and a thumbs down. And it'll say like Zach approved, and then we'll just hit like the stamp of a thumbs up or thumbs down. Um, we're gonna say for Grizzly Rage though, not Zach approved. 1.5 stars, big thumbs down. Um, do you think you'll ever watch Grizzly Rage ever again?
Probably. I'll give it another few years, but it's like
Every 15 years.
yeah.
What were you gonna say though? I cut you off.
Oh, you're good. I just got a thing that says we got 10 minutes left on the recording.
I think this is gonna be a two-part episode. Um, I was so confident that we'd squeeze this all in, but sometimes you just get sucked into talking about Grizzly Rage or Superman. Well then here, I'm gonna spend a few more minutes. We should talk about Grizzly Rage a little bit more and maybe some of the stuff around it, but then we'll do an immediate second episode where we're gonna talk more about Grizzly Rage, of course. Um, we're also going to talk about what we're going to do in the future, but I I really want to just spend a few minutes. So I went down this rabbit hole of the movie. Of course, looking at the cast, pretty much nobody else has gone on to do anything of note. Um, but the director is hands down one of the most prolific directors I've ever seen on the face of the earth. Um,
Are you familiar with
the
him?
director, go ahead.
Are you familiar with
I mean, I'm looking at 102 movies on Wikipedia right now, and I have seen 10, maybe 10 things that he's had a hand in. We're talking about David Dakota. I had to double check that because I'm like, you never know. Um, he has directed, I mean, Wikipedia says 102 movies through 2014. And I'm sure that he's done an additional, I'm glancing through, I mean, it looks like another 35, 40 movies in the last 10 years. So he's like at almost 200 movies.
Letterboxd says 175.
That's an insane number for somebody who does stuff like Grizzly Rage.
So like,
Um,
stuff on the cheap, you can do a bunch of them, I guess.
it, if you look through his insane filmmaking credits, not only has he directed an absolute insane amount of movies, he's also written quite a few of them. Um, around 2010, he has this stretch of like 30 movies in a row where he functionally did the directing, the producing, the cinematography, and the writing on it. That's like that's like that's like the EGOT of making bad movies is you wrote, produced, directed, and also were the cinematographer on this film. um, if you were looking at his filmography, are there any movies that stick out? Maybe ones that you've seen, maybe ones you want to see besides Grizzly Rage?
So I've seen a few. One that sticks out, maybe we should do sometime. Dr. Alien.
Dr. Alien. if you could give me is that one you've seen or one you want to see?
I've seen it. I think it'd definitely be a good rewatch.
Is this just going to become a podcast where we dunk on this director for for weeks on end? Because I don't want to be known as the guy that, uh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is what this podcast becomes. We have 175 episodes talking about every film that this director's ever done.
Just do a deep
Um,
5 hour long video of his entire filmography.
Dr. Alien is also known as I was a teenage sex maniac or I was a teenage sex mutant. Um, I think Dr. Alien's a better title because that's a movie that I'd actually check out. But if you told me that you were watching I was a teenage sex alien or something of that line, I don't even know. I'd feel weird.
And so he also did this series of movies, 1313. It's just like a bunch of shirtless dudes walking around. Apparently he's like a
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
notoriously like homoerotic stuff on a lot of them.
Yeah, so that's part of what was so interesting about this director, and we're probably going to have to cover more of this in the second half, but this this dude has a truly phenomenal menagerie of pseudonyms and different styles of movies that he's made. Grizzly Rage, I think, if you're scrolling through his again truly incredibly long filmography, Grizzly Rage is like one of the more normal films. Um, but Grizzly Rage compared to the average film is still bad and not that good. So it's kind of like an interesting filmography for him to have. Um, Puppet Master 2 and 3. The I mean, so you brought up the 1313 movies, but if you go a little bit further, you see the Wrong series, which were a series of films, TV movies, pretty much all starring Vivica A. Fox in them. I think they were all Lifetime films.
Yeah.
Um, there's like 20 movies in this franchise that he's done. Um,
Seems like that's a
I,
lot.
I, I'm
Like him, Fredo and Ray, they both do like a bunch of these shitty B movies, and then they do a lot of Lifetime stuff as well, like the Lifetime Christmas movies and shit. It's such a weird dynamic.
I'm looking at the I'm looking at the wrong it's the wrong dot 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 because every movie is like the wrong stepmother, the wrong mommy, the wrong cheerleader, the wrong wedding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I don't know. Do all of these movies do you think exist in the same universe or are they all separate independent entities? I wonder.
They're probably all in the same universe. I don't know. I don't know what are they about.
I don't know.
It's like
I'm normally I wouldn't spend so much time looking at Wikipedia, but I'm stunned at the cast in these movies. I mean, you've got Vivica A. Fox in these franchise movies. You've got random people like Eric Roberts showing up. Eric Roberts is I mean, I think you could say a moderately to largely successful actor who probably doesn't need Lifetime movies anymore. I think he could probably just rest on all the stuff he has done. Um, you've got well, that might actually be it. Everyone else is it's like their first, second. Tara Reid at one point on the wrong cheerleader coach. Um, Jeremy Meeks, who was the do you remember the guy who was convicted of some crime? I don't remember, but like his mugshot was so like he has like light eyes, he's like light skinned, and like people like were so in love with him that he like got a modeling contract afterward after he got out of jail.
yeah.
This dude stars in a movie with Vivica A. Fox called The Wrong Life. No, I'm sorry, The Wrong High School Sweetheart, presumably playing the high school sweetheart. Um, but yeah, this whole franchise is basically uh, a Vivica A. Fox production. She produced them, but the director of Grizzly Rage also proceeded to direct every one of those movies. Um, So between that and the 1313 series, I mean, the the box set would be like 100 movies deep. Um, have you seen Puppet Master 2 and 3? I don't even remember the first one, let alone the sequels.
I've only seen the first one and the most recent one, which was like not even a part of the universe apparently.
Yeah. This guy is there's also a series of movies called The Brotherhood, um, which are like it's like a like warlock movies. There's a lot of recurring themes here. Um, like actually he did more than two Puppet Masters. He did Retro Puppet Master as well. So three Puppet Master films. I think we're gonna end up calling this episode 1.1, and the next one will have to be 1.2 because I don't think we're done talking about this prolific director who we apparently need to go through his filmography together. Um, but yeah, we'll pick this back up for episode 2, and you'll have to you know, like and subscribe, smash the subscribe button, they say. Uh, so that you can pick up on episode 2 immediately. If you missed the first episode somehow, I'd probably go back and listen to that because this picks up seconds after the first one. Um, we were talking about Grizzly Rage, which was our first pick of strange, interesting, unique, or just bad movies that we'd like to talk about. Um, we went down the rabbit hole of directors, actors related to Grizzly Rage, but before we totally, completely, finally move on from Grizzly Rage, what else is there to say? Just watch it. Just go see it.
Yeah. Bear chases people.
Bear chases people. If you look at the Wikipedia, and I am because frankly, I don't remember if I fell asleep during this movie watching it again or not. Um, because it's Canadian, all of the measurements of distance are in kilometers. So there's actually a section where it has to say like certain characters have to run from the bear and they end up running 15 kilometers, which equates to about 10 miles. There is no fucking way that movie portrays it as a 10-mile run. It's like it cuts to like 30 seconds later. He's like running and then it's like still daylight out. And he's like, oh, I found the shack where all this stuff is at. It does not feel like he runs 10 miles. I don't know if that's established in the movie or not, but
He says he gets
um,
lost, finds his way back somehow.
yeah, like, I don't know, man. Uh, Bear chases stupid kids. Bear wins, dude. The bear always wins. Um, I guess this is a big spoiler if you were gonna turn around and go watch the movie, but something that's interesting about this one, and I think most of the Maneater films do this because that's kind of the whole premise is like nature or science fiction versus humans, is the entire movie wraps. Certain people are alive, and you're kind of like, all right, cool, they're good. And then it immediately shows up and kills everybody in the last second. Like everyone's like, well, I'm glad we survived. And then the bear and just kills them. Is that the best execution of a final second plot twist? Is the bear shows up and actually gets the job done?
Yeah. Well, I think it could have gone another way at a certain point. That would have been cooler, but like when they try to set it on fire, it should have been a flaming bear coming at them instead of not catching on fire at all.
And because the bear and the humans can't be in the same scene, it had to be a guy in a bear suit who's also on fire.
But there was
uh,
like a hinting at that is like a radioactive dump site. I think they were gonna go somewhere with that, but didn't have budget.
well, that would make more sense than it just being a normal bear because like the first couple movies in the franchise are just animals. Like sure, they're abnormally strong or In this case, a bear has enough intelligence to not only hold a grudge, but pursue that grudge for days on end.
For people on.
Um, yeah. But then beyond that, like it turns into like zombies, gargoyles, aliens. So it definitely does feel like the bear is like a super powered bear.
Yeah.
I wonder if and also it's the Sci-Fi Channel. So the Sci-Fi Channel producing something that has a normal standard living bear in it, and that's the main antagonist is just a grizzly bear, nothing weird, is a little weird when you think about it.
Should have done something else. But
Do you think the do you think the Maneater franchise will ever come back? It's been 10 years since the last film. Do you think, I mean, does sci-fi even exist anymore? I don't have cable, so
maybe.
uh
Probably just shows reruns of Twilight Zone or something.
if if sci-fi does exist, somebody out there will tell me. I'll Google it after this. Um, I vote we bring the Maneater franchise back. I vote we make a sequel to some of these. Grizzly Rage 2 would be great. Um, I mean, it had a $2 million budget. I would assume that 1 million of it was the that Jeep Cherokee that managed to survive every conceivable disaster thrown at it. It goes off of a cliff. They like it gets attacked by the bear. They like like catches on fire at some point. like um is the Jeep Cherokee the is that the actual main character, do you think?
Star of the film. Just
Uh I think everyone should read what people have to say on Letterboxd about it. Maybe that's a more entertaining way to view the movie. The Letterboxd reviews are pretty fun. I kept mine pretty straightforward because a 1.5 star doesn't warrant that much brain power for me. But if a sequel comes along, I'll say that I was on the Maneater franchise before anyone else was.
yeah. We'll just have to get a sequel going.
If sci-fi is really hard up, I'm happy to work on it. If they if they want to throw some work our way, um, that should be the not that I use Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, but if I did, I would start my own um, media oddities for Grizzly Rage 2 campaign, and maybe it would take off, and no one would have any idea what we're talking about, but it would be important to me.
Yeah. But
I do think I'll never watch this again, probably. I think I've done it enough. I think five, six, seven, 8 times is enough. Um, but I would like to visit the other Maneater movies. We could spend more time talking about the filmography of David Dakota, the director of Grizzly Rage, director of Leeches. Sorry, actually, he acted in Leeches. He didn't direct it, but he did direct Steel and Lace. We've said the Puppet Master, some of the Puppet Master franchise, not the ones anyone's ever seen. Um, he also directed Speed Demon, which is a like muscle car movie that's possessed by demons. It's almost, I mean, like it's it's like a demon that's bound in an amulet that takes over a vehicle that becomes like a sentient ancient evil vehicle. Maybe we could touch on that one later.
some good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to unintentionally become a podcast about just these movies and not not the other media oddities that we're familiar with. Um, if you had to rank just like off the cuff, no prep at all. There's so many movies out there where animals are the villains. I'm trying to think of a couple good ones kind of off the dome, but do you think Grizzly Rage is in the Hall of Fame for bad movies that contain animal villains?
I'd say so. I'm
I'm
trying.
also trying to think of movies.
There's Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. I mean, Was the bear actually a villain in that, or was he, was the villain the humans that I don't remember the context of that movie. Aren't they like trafficking cocaine or something? And then the bear gets into it.
Yeah, like falls with a plane or something.
Do you think is Cocaine Bear the I know Cocaine Bear is actually based on a true story, or like loosely based on a true story. Um I wonder if there's a bear villain movie universe, the BCU, the Bear Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, there's a
I guess I didn't realize how many stars are in Cocaine Bear. I don't that movie just it just wiped from my memory after I watched it.
Yeah. I was expecting a little more from that one. And it was sadly Ray Liotta's last movie.
Yeah. I guess it's important to note that Cocaine Bear was a black bear. Grizzly Rage is a grizzly bear. Um, the BCU has to have films that contain different bears in it. Um, and then in 2033, the BCU will combine for uh, the Avengers version of the Bear cinematic universe, where every Bear villain or anti-hero or hero joins together to take down global warming as an entity. Um, I'm really interested in movies starring bears now.
There's one I haven't seen.
This,
Wanted to. It's Prophecy. I guess it's like a mutated bear.
okay. Well, I mean, they obviously have to be in the mix. You know what? I had some thoughts on what this podcast was about to become, but I think this episode's about to become the BCU episode. um, I'm looking at movies starring bears. Of course, you have the classics. You have your Grizzly Rage. You have your technically Grizzly Man, which, even though it is not about bears specifically, does contain bears. You have Kung Fu Panda, the greatest bear of all time. You have Paddington. Um, you have The Revenant, which definitely stars a bear. If if you had to cast in the BCU the Iron Man of bears, who is the Iron Man of bear films? So Iron Man, the leader, incredibly super knowledgeable, uh, sometimes family oriented in a way that he wants things to be safe in a good environment for everyone to be in. Who is the Iron Man of bears?
Probably have to say that Paddington.
Okay,
Or
okay.
do we count teddy bears?
I think we do. Yeah. And the BCU, they all count.
Um, I'd say Paddington or Ted.
Okay.
Seen
I
that?
think I think Ted.
Yeah.
Um, he's a smartass, just like Tony Stark. Um, he's iconic. Everyone knows Ted. Everyone knows Iron Man. Um, I think Ted is Iron Man. I think Ted is the leader of the. I was looking for a bear Avengers pun, man. I've been looking for it for about 10 minutes and haven't come up with it still. Um, the it's the Avengers, like Gur, like a bear growl, the Avengers, in the BCU.
So
Um,
the bear growls and Grizzly Rage. God.
oh, I know. I think the $2 million budget went to everything except for the production values. Like, it was the Jeep Cherokee, it was the whatever marketing sci-fi did for it, but they're not on the actual film itself.
Like the growls just sound like someone was deep throating a microphone.
That cost money, all right? Somebody had to do it. And if sci-fi needs someone to do it, I'm available. Um, the all right, the Spider-Man of the BCU. Um, Spider-Man, typically young, uh, incredibly intelligent, super strong. Um, funny, you know, is I think Poe from Kung Fu Panda could be a lot of things, but I think to me that's my Spider-Man. What do you think?
Yeah, that fits.
Incredibly skilled in martial arts. Spider-Man, insanely good at hand-to-hand combat. Super strong. I mean, I don't know. I think Poe could have been a lot of things, but to me, I think Poe, the Kung Fu Panda, is the Spider-Man of the BCU. Um, Captain America in the BCU, I just don't know. I mean, is it Winnie the Pooh? Captain America just not able to be corrupted. He's just so he's just a good dude, a happy dude sometimes. Always looking out for his friends. I think that's Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, that fits. I'd say either that or Baloo from Jungle Book.
Yeah. Yeah, another great example of um, when I think of Cap, you could talk about so much, but I think Captain America's core defining feature is that he truly cares about the people around him. And I think that if that's your defining factor, then yes, absolutely. Um, I think Baloo's a good call, and I think maybe even a better call than Winnie because Winnie the Pooh would Winnie the Pooh strikes me as the supreme pacifist. Has Winnie the Pooh ever thrown a punch? Probably not.
Probably not.
Um, so that's the BCU in a nutshell. We could sit here and cast all the extra stuff, but I think that'll be a separate separate episode. But yeah, the Bear Cinematic Universe. Um, if Marvel or anyone is desperately looking for someone to work on it, I think we're going to be available. I'm happy to uh, I'm happy to sign over the rights to the BCU if they'd like them, and if not, we can do it ourselves. Do we want to talk a little bit about what we're going to do going forward? Perhaps the next movies we have in mind.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do you want to pitch? I think we had a couple ideas on what the next episodes might look like. Do you want to pitch any potential options you have? Um, and I'll pitch the thing that I've been thinking about a lot today, and we can see if we can nail down the future of the episodes that exist outside of the BCU. Um, Non-BCU episodes are the extended universe, so it's the BECU. All
Yeah.
right, what movie are you going to do next? What are you thinking?
So the one I had in mind was Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell, also known as
I
He's Evil Dead.
Yeah, I own it. I have a sealed copy of it in my living room right now. Um, have you watched it already? No. Okay. Well, actually, what? I think that might be the move then, because um, I was gonna pitch some movies that I've seen some of them. I'm sure that you've seen them as well. But I was like, they're strange enough that I think we could talk about them. But I'm actually have been looking for a reason to break that out. Like, and I literally looked at it yesterday as I was rearranging my movies out there. Um, I think we should do it. I think we're just gonna pull the trigger on it.
All right.
Um,
We
it
want,
is. I'm trying to remember who. Do you have the? Do you have like the more recent release of it, the one that was like last year that came out?
I have the DVD right now, but I'll probably shell out for the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I have a copy of it. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember who put that out. I know they did an episode of Joe Bob Briggs did an episode that had it, but I'm trying to remember who published the copy that I have. Was it Visual Vengeance? It
Uh,
was. Oh yeah. Yeah, it comes with like the slipcase and stuff. Um $20 on Amazon, not bad, but yeah, I've been sitting on a copy of it for like a year plus with just like in the backlog, not even thinking about it. If we do that next, we should do we just alternate? Do we go from do we do Maneater one episode, non-Maneater the next, Maneater again? With 25, 26, 27 Maneater films, we could have the next 60 episodes of this podcast functionally laid out ahead of us. The I don't know how hard it is to find some of those movies though.
They're probably all on like Tubi or something.
Yeah. Tubi or I don't even know. Like streaming has changed so much. I've lost track of where I can watch things at this point in my life. I genuinely do not know where I can watch a movie half the time.
You just end up buying it on disc anyways.
Yeah. Before we started, I wanted to see if there was a Maneater box set because why wouldn't there be? And there's no one single collection of all of them, but they did do like those classic, like the three DVDs in one box where it's just like the most bare bones packaging of all time. Um, but if you look at them on Amazon or if you look at them on eBay or Blu-ray.com or whatever, um, like Grizzly Rage doesn't seem to be in any of the collections, or in very infrequently in the collections. Like they'll do all the movies that came out around it, but not that one in particular. And I wonder if there's a specific reason why.
Wonder if it's because of David Dakota. I don't know.
Maybe they realized he's gotten they can't pay for him anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'll have to track down all of the movies if I can. All right, episode three, we're back. Uh, I think I think my my laptop is running like 95 different programs in the background because I forgot when we were recording that I didn't turn like I didn't like shut Steam down or Xbox down or like anything else going, and at some point my computer was just like the It's Always Sunny, the Charlie meme where it's like rubbing his temples. He was like, I don't know what's going on. My computer was freaking out. Um, it wouldn't be a podcast episode, especially a first one, without a couple misfires. But um, yeah, I think we were talking about well, we were talking about the BCU, but I'll leave that for now. We were talking about the future of the episodes. We've picked our movie. Um, yeah, we'll take a crack at it. I'll finally take the plastic wrap off of mine. Um, I'm looking at you have your collection behind you. Probably not even all of it, of course, but how much of what's behind you is still sealed? And is it 90% of it?
So I open my stuff when I get it. I
That's
like
crazy.
splits and everything, even though I'm not watching the damn movie. But yeah, I should keep some sealed though. Just resell some of it.
I've started making the conscious decision that I'm not going to buy something unless I'm actually going to turn around and watch it. And that has been a total game changer for me. Because like I was saying earlier, like bought, I've literally bought movies, put them on my shelf, and it's been a year. And I'm like, oh, I own that. I should go open it finally.
Yeah, I need to stop. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. Uh, when I moved, I sold most of my collection, frankly. And then I started rebuilding it. And um, with every new boutique company that came out, putting out their very first or limited edition or something that'll never come back again, I was just buying, 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 buying. Of course, no copies of Grizzly Rage on, Vinegar Syndrome yet or anything, but um, I was just buying to the point where I would then buy a copy like in person at a store and get home and be like, I already own this, and I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as bad as it was in like 2020. I was buying so much shit, but I should slow down.
I mean, or don't. Who knows, Like, um, but I do love that um we're gonna have some movies coming down the line where I actually already own them. And it'll give me the it'll be the catalyst for me finally opening them up. watching them and then being like, huh, and then putting them up for sale on on eBay or something.
Like a label showcase or something. Do like double feature, like some Vinegar Syndrome releases or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at a stack of movies right here. This is totally unrelated and off topic that I was listing on the internet to get rid of. Um, but I'm sure you've experienced this where you look at something and you're like, I don't need this anymore, and then you go put it up for sale, and then it sits there for a little bit, and you're like, I'll just keep it.
The
Or I'm
stack,
like, it's been a week. I'll just hold on.
yeah.
Have there been any movies, that you've sold and then down the line you want to rebuy and the price is like quadrupled and you're like, never mind? Has that ever happened to you?
Or I'm like, "Oh, I should have held on to that a little longer and then sold it."
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to if I sell something, I'm usually just trying to get it out of the house, so I'll take like a pretty good hit on it sometimes. Um and then I'll see like on the boutique Blu-ray subreddit that whatever it was is now out of print and people are selling it for like $300 and I'm like, "Oh, I sold it for 30." You know? Um, this should be what we should do is we should do uh we talk about movies up front, but then in the back half we open up a Zach and Chris bottom of the barrel auction where I'll hold up a movie that I'm trying to get rid of and people can reach out to me and say I'll give you $5 and I will sell it to them gladly.
Yeah. So I got a couple over here.
So we have our next movie picked. We talked a little about Grizzly Rage. I think Grizzly Rage is a good one to start on. We could have spent 5 more hours talking about the director's filmography, but that's not exactly why we're here. We're here to celebrate movies that are strange, unique, weird, interesting, bad, rare, perhaps. Um, but we're also here to celebrate what are inevitably going to be some of the worst watches of my life, and I'm sure worst watches of your life too, coming down the line.
Hopefully the next one should be good.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. I bought it on a strong recommendation. Um, I'm looking forward to watching it, and we'll just keep moving. I mean, if you happen to follow either of us on Letterboxd, and I'll make sure that in our subject notes we'll put our Letterboxd links. You'll know when the next episode is coming because you'll probably see us put a review in Letterboxd shortly before we record. Um, but yeah, are you doing any targeted like letterboxed watches right now? Are you doing any like lists? Are you doing any goals? Or are you just kind of doing whatever this year?
I'm trying to get through the top 250.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Are you rewatching things that you've already seen? Or are you just watching stuff you hadn't seen?
I'm rewatching stuff.
It's a big list.
Started in the summer last year. I'll try to get at least a couple a week, but a lot of them are super long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You've got stuff like most top 250 lists, if it's broad categories, you have stuff like Godfather movies, Chinatown, like all these random things that are like 3.5 hours long. Um, and it just takes an entire day to get through sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm trying to buy them all physically too. I shouldn't, but like I got a shelf over here that's just that.
Jeez. Um, have there been any releases this year that you've like really been like anything that you've purchased this year that you were excited for? Is there anything coming down the line that you're excited for? Stuff that we may perhaps cover in the future? Anything weird or interesting?
Um, well, favorite movie of last year, The Substance. That I think it's coming in the mail today. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I saw it in theaters. It was a wild experience.
That one's pretty good. I can't really think of any other releases off the top of my head.
It's tough because so many people put out so many movies now that I can't commit the mental space to remember what's actually coming until it shows up in the mail or I see it in person. I'm like, oh yeah, I was gonna buy that.
Yeah. How the Shaw Brothers box sets are usually good.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't gotten the third one yet. Probably won't anytime soon because I've got 10 million other things to watch before then.
I only got that one because I've been trading stuff into Orbit DVD. Said maybe do that, grab some credit.
Yeah. So we have I'm really fortunate that Austin is home of a used record movie CD store. It's Waterloo Records. Um, their trade-in program is one of the most generous programs I've seen. Like they'll give you, whatever value they think is relevant to your movies, which typically is better than anywhere else I can find, except for selling things individually online, like as individual pieces. Um, but then if you do the store credit, they also give you like a 10% boost to make sure that like if you turn around and use it, it covers like taxes and stuff. So um yeah, I'll take a bunch of stuff in and then I'll walk out with things that I forget that I've bought and then I'll shelve them. But yeah, this podcast is mostly about having fun and celebrating movies, but maybe as we dial in and we get more refined, I'll start kicking the door down at Orbit to try and get a little we'll talk about you if you want to give us a little credit.
Or send us some, reach out to some labels, like send us a movie for review.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one is just when we look back on it in a year, we'll look back at it, it'll just be the test episode. I think going forward it'll be a little snappier, a little cleaner. I'll have a little better setup, but yeah, just this is like test driving a car that you've already bought because we were already going to do this either way. But now we're in the driver's seat and just being like it's good. Feels right.
Yeah,
So I think this episode's going to end up being what? Hour and 45 minutes? Hour and a half?
maybe.
Yeah. We could split it. We could have it be part one and two. Um, or we could stitch it all together and have the first one be the long one. But um I think in the future, yeah, we probably won't encounter so many technical issues, but it's also the nature of doing a podcast halfway across the country from people. It's gonna happen. Um, but yeah, we'll reconvene. We'll watch we might even talk offline and pick our next couple movies and watch them so we can get like a good system working like for recording. I think for some people, this may be the second podcast they've listened to with us. That might be the uh, second time they've gotten involved with the two of us talking about movies. And if there's one thing you should know about us is that previously we were not good at keeping a schedule. So we are going to be good about it this time. We went years without recording episodes last time, and then we'd come back, do a couple, and then we'd fall out again. But um, we'll keep a schedule, we'll keep it current. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone taking this weird ride with us as we watch a lot of probably mostly shitty movies. Do you think we'll get sued if I ask at the end of every episode, how did this get made? Do you think they'll care?
Probably not, unless until it takes off.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you with an age-old question. How did Grizzly Rage get made? That's it. I don't know what else to say.